It's said that 99% of creators claim to loathe everything they made more than 5 years ago. The remaining 1% are liars. In September 2016, I listed the Rocky films in order from worst to best. The videos use a poorer quality microphone, terrible sound mixing, feature me stuttering over words, and it's in 2 parts. But they exist on my channel if you really want to see them. I bring this up because I ranked the films up until Creed, before Creed 2 was released. I also love the Rocky series. I saw Creed 2 in cinemas and my quick review was not that complimentary, and I haven't seen it since then. Despite this, I'm looking forward to watching Creed 2 again and giving it a rematch. Boxing joke. Here's my review of Creed 2. In desolate Russia, Ivan Drago is training his son Victor to be a boxer. His immense power is getting him win after win and catching the attention of promoter Buddy Marcel. Meanwhile, back in the USA, Adonis Creed wins the heavyweight championship and proposes to longtime girlfriend Bianca. He even finds out that he's going to be a father for the first time shortly afterwards. Whilst out celebrating in Philadelphia, he sees Victor calling him out for a championship match on TV. Creed, eager to beat the son of the man who killed his father Apollo, initially declines, but Buddy convinces him to take it after a meeting at one of Bianca's concerts. Bianca thinks it's a bad idea, as does Adonis' mother, Mary Ann. Meanwhile, Rocky is so against the fight he refuses to train Adonis. Instead, Creed moves back to Hollywood and goes back to Little Duke, his father's trainer's son, at the Delphi gym. The fight is set up and Adonis looks ready, but is no match for the power of Victor Drago. The fight is nearly stopped at one point, but instead, the fight ends by disqualification when Victor hits Adonis when he's down to a knee. The fight breaks Creed both physically and mentally, with the champion suffering broken bones and a major concussion, as well as a ruptured kidney, but also becoming a shell of himself, refusing to train and not being as connected to Bianca and their upcoming birth. Rocky eventually travels to Hollywood to see him and convince him that he needs to move on from the loss. Adonis then receives the call that Bianca is in labour and soon becomes a father to daughter Amara. Amara, though, appears to have inherited Bianca's deafness, but despite this, the 2 new parents love their little girl. One night when Amara won't settle down to sleep, Adonis takes her out for a drive and ends up at the Delphi gym. He starts to hit the heavy bag, gets the itch to fight, and tells Bianca later that night he needs to fight Drago again. Drago, meanwhile, is now being accepted by Russian high society, including his mother and Ivan's ex-wife Ludmila, after years of being ignored by them, following Ivan's loss to Rocky 30 years before. Rocky agrees to train Adonis again, this time in a desert rather than a gym. The championship match is set in Russia, with Creed having 25-1 odds despite being the champion. Victor fights hard again and even knocks Creed down a couple of times, but Creed this time is taking it better, fighting back and even causing damage himself. Late into the match, Victor is knocked down twice in quick succession, with Creed seemingly minutes away from winning. This is enough for Ludmila to leave, with Ivan and Victor both noticing. Ivan eventually throws in the towel when Victor won't stay down but can't defend himself. Creed retains the championship. In the aftermath, Rocky decides to head to Canada to reconcile with his son and meet his grandson, whilst Adonis takes Bianca and Amara to Apollo Creed's grave. I want to address my comments from the quick review.
But whereas Creed is a standalone that has callbacks, Creed 2 seems like an overly long hodgepodge of all previous Rocky movies, including the terrible Rocky 5. Its story is one of fathers, sons and legacy, and it works, but its reliance and dependence on previous films means that this is a prize fighter, but no knockout.
Remember that quote I said at the beginning? Well, this was 4 years ago, and I have to disagree with past me. He was an idiot with pretentious metaphors. I stand by the fact that this uses a lot of previous tropes from Rocky films, but it's almost a best of rather than a hodgepodge. You've got the overconfident champion taking a match against someone whose trainer doesn't want him to fight from Rocky 3. The fact that the opponent is a Drago and the final fight is in Russia from Rocky 4. The unscrupulous promoter from Rocky 5. Rocky's relationship with his son from Rocky Balboa. It all comes together to make a film that somehow gets better with each subsequent viewing, because for the first time in the history of the Film Review Open Challenge, I've watched this film twice since its selection, and I've enjoyed it quite a lot. It's not the best Rocky film. I don't even think it's better than Creed. But it continues the story of Creed really well and uses the franchise's history to really build on the characters without straying away from what we know. Everyone here gets development. Rocky's estrangement from his son and his family plays in the background and is really heartwarmingly concluded at the end. Bianca's desire to move on to bigger and better things in Hollywood, which suddenly take an unexpected turn when she finds out she's pregnant, and dealing with a husband who is mentally broken. She never loses patience with Adonis and is a constant support, even singing him to the ring in the final fight. This does make me wonder why she hadn't done previously though. Adonis Creed's rash nature in taking the fight and arrogance in thinking he could just win, paired with his humbling and redemption, is a fantastic main storyline, which as before is brilliantly portrayed by Michael B. Jordan. But of all people, Ivan Drago is the one we learn the most about. Who was Ivan Drago in Rocky IV? An almost mute, super strong boxer who did as he was told. After Rocky IV, did anyone actually ask what happened to him after the film? Or Clubber Lang after 3? Or Tommy Gunn after 5? Actually, Tommy Gunn. Drago lost everything but his son and spent all these years training Victor with tough love. I counted one instance where Victor is praised through the entire movie. In the final fight where Ivan simply says, "Good job." The attention to detail with his character is quite something. At one point, Rocky tells Adonis to make Victor overextend with his right, but Ivan knows this and tells Victor to bait Creed with the right. Outstanding detail that. Ivan even comes across as sympathetic at times when he's around Russian dignitaries and his ex-wife, especially when she leaves towards the end of the fight. Ivan's desperation to get back to the glory days and be in favour again is well played by Dolph Lundgren, who is given license to do much more this time round. Even Victor, who isn't supposed to be a deep character, gets a moment or two where he vents his frustration at now being accepted by his mother after his success, and the look he gives when Ludmilla leaves. He's not a villain, he's just desperate for the love of his mother. So why is it then that Creed 2 isn't as good? Well, I think it's the originality in all honesty. The whole best of idea works if this is the last film of the series, but Creed 3 is due out later this year. It clearly continues the story of the Creed series. Creed 2 uses a lot of previous Rocky moments, which means that people who aren't as into the series might not get all the references, especially Rocky 4, one of the weaker Rocky films.
Hang on a second. You mean to say that Rocky 4 is not a very good film? I disagree, mate. I disagree. It's up there, man. It's up there. It's great. I mean, all the undertones about the whole capitalism beating communism, the good versus evil, the if he dies, he dies, unfeeling, bloody, typical villain. I mean, come on. It's up there with Rocky 1. Be serious. Come on.
Maybe I'm due to review Rocky 4, though I'm not really in the mood for a Christmas movie. Let's get back to Creed 2. There's also a plotline which flies under the radar that bothers me a little bit. Adonis losing his Johnson surname. I don't think it's mentioned verbally considering how big a plot point this was in Creed. The sonogram says Creed, the trunks in the final fight lose to Johnson on the waistband. A really pivotal, beautiful moment at the end of Creed. Presentation wise, this film looks amazing. The cinematography at times is really impressive. I love the shots of Adonis in the swimming pool whilst Marianne and Bianca are discussing him. The shots underwater muffle the conversation between the two women. In the first fight, first person camera shots are used to really make you feel the brutality of Victor's punches. Simple things like this draw a viewer in. Music's always been a big part of the Rocky series, and maybe it's not my taste, but I'm not a big fan of most of the hip hop mixes. I love the Creed theme and the fact that it's used throughout like the Rocky theme was previously. Of course, the exception to all of this is the song Runnin', which is used in the desert montage. It is immense, and I have been listening to it multiple times recently. So, let's make it official. Here are the Rocky films in order from worst to best, in my opinion. Rocky 5, Rocky 4, Rocky Balboa, Rocky 3, Creed 2, Creed, Rocky, Rocky 2. But then, where will Creed 3 lie? The trailer for it suggests a lot of time has passed and that Adonis' past is now coming back to haunt him. I didn't see Rocky in the trailer though, and that certainly makes for an interesting idea. Can a Creed movie stand alone without the Italian stallion? Will Creed 3 carry on or end the series? And what will Michael B. Jordan's directorial debut be like? Right now though, I can strongly recommend Creed to long-time Rocky fans, and for those who haven't seen it at all, watch Creed beforehand at the bare minimum. Creed 2 is a great sequel to Creed and plays up much of the Rocky franchise history, arguably too much, but surprisingly, this is a film that gets better with each subsequent view. The acting is top notch, the character work is sublime, and the story is solid and heartwarming. Creed 2, though not the best of the Rocky series, is a really strong contender, and my recent viewings have me excited for the upcoming third film. Creed 2 is a knockout, plain and simple. Next up for the Film Review Open Challenge is The Irishman. For now though, thank you very much for watching.